What's up, YouTube? It's the Action Figure Grader coming back to you with kind of a general consensus as to what I thought happened in the Morphy auctions. Obviously, we all know about the big find of mini mint on card vintage Kenner Star Wars action figures that Morphy's auction handled today. Today is February 1st, and the data is in from the auctions. A couple of friends actually attended it. Some people actually bought some things. And in general, the prices were pretty jaw-dropping. I just felt like the prices went stratospheric for the most part. And I picked out a kind of a random sampling of some of the different items that sold. And wow, I mean, I don't know what really happened other than there were a lot of whales there, I assume. There were a lot of people that wanted some of this rare stuff, like the double telescoping Luke Skywalker. There were several of those that sold. Mint on card, a lot of Boba Fett's, early card backs all the way to Return of the Jedi. But in general, the prices were pretty crazy. And I'm just going to dig right in with some thoughts here. And any of you that attended it in person, feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below. If you picked up something, I know some of you did. I know Chris over at Rogue 5 Toys picked up some things. There were some loose graded figures that even some of those went kind of crazy, but there were some deals to be had. But in general, I would say that the market is alive and well at the upper end. The ultra wealthy, the really, really expensive mint on cards, the rare stuff held up just fine relative to some of the past sales from last year. But here was a 12 backseat Princess Leia, unpunched, really nice. And the final bid price that I'm quoting here, that includes the buyer's premium. One of the, in general, I did not enjoy the process that Morphe put on. You could bid online up to the live bidding starting, and once the live bidding starting, you couldn't bid online. You could apparently bid live online, but it was a very confusing registration process. I tried like 5 or 6 times just to register my name and credit card, and it kept spitting me back out. So not that I was going to bid, but I did want to at least kind of check out Morphe, and in general, I was pretty unimpressed. I got to be honest with you. I feel like the process was not very well done relative to what I'm used to with like Hakes auctions. Hakes is seamless. It's easy to register. It's easy to bid. It's easy to pay. They deliver stuff really quickly. And I just did not get a great feeling about how this auction was handled. No offense if anybody from Morphe's watching, I'm just giving my personal opinion on the outside looking in. I wasn't there. So certainly, I'm sure some of you have different opinions on that. But from my perspective, it just didn't, it wasn't easy. It didn't make it easy for me to register. I tried on multiple computers, and I couldn't even get my name registered in there. So it is what it is. But anyway, the final bid prices include the 23%. There's a 20% buyer's premium, and then there's another 3% on top of that if you use a credit card. So it's 23% on top of the final bid price. And, that's fine, whatever. I mean, every auction house charges, anywhere from 18% to 25%, 30% I've seen. So I don't think that the buyer's premium was outrageous. But the final bids I'm quoting here include the buyer's premium. So, but anyway, this 12 back C Princess Leia sold for $2,952. That's a big number. But, it is what it is. Just a lot of items came in high. And certainly some of the more desirable ones were the double telescoping lightsaber Lukes on the 12 backs. And this one was a 12 back C that had the double telescoping saber. And the final bid price on this one was $31,980. The estimate was anywhere from 10 to 20. I was expecting kind of 25-ish. But, there were multiple ones. And I do feel like, certainly people probably picked out which ones looked the best based on the wear and tear. Not all of them were case fresh. I know that the find made it look like a lot of them were case fresh, but there were some that had some light damage. So and that certainly affected the final sales prices. But anyway, this 12 back C did sell for almost $32,000. Here was, I think, another one. Let me make sure I didn't double count this one. Yeah, so this is a whole separate one, but it also ended at the same price, $31,980. So another data point there. This one sold a little bit less, another 12 back C. This one sold for $27,060, but still, again, this was a punched example versus these two that were unpunched examples. Certainly that played a factor, but big numbers, big jaw-dropping numbers. Here was another one that was unpunched, and they all kind of ended around the same price. And I'm sure there were some heavy hitters in the collecting industry that probably picked a lot of these up. You can probably expect to see a lot of these graded over the next 6 to 9 months, and then end up on the secondary market, either at other auction houses or eBay. Who knows? But here was another one. This one sold for $41,820. I'm not really sure why this one went higher. I'm sure there's probably some slight variations, maybe with the COO or things like that. But this one was a punched example, and it also had a yellow blister. But my guess is it probably is related to the type of Luke that's on the card there. But just really interesting data points. $41,820, just absolutely insane. And there were a bunch of different Boba Fett's, 21 A's and B's. I'm not going to go through all of them, but this one was a 21 back A punched example. That one sold for $14,760. And I'm not including all high price stuff. I got some pretty wide range of prices, but here was an unpunched 21A. That one sold for $22,140. So eye-watering, just really, really surprising numbers. I was kind of expecting $15,000 to $18,000, but what do I know? I think part of it is the heritage, the kind of the story behind the find. I'm sure a lot of the big collectors who have deep pockets, they wanted to be a part of this history. I mean, and certainly Collector Archive Services was on site, and if you submitted something to CAS, they would note it on the label as part of the Morphe's 2023 find on the label, which I thought was an ingenious idea for those that, maybe picked up a mint on card as part of this auction. You could take it right to CAS's booth, and they would label it if you wanted to. You didn't have to, but if you wanted to have it on the grading label as part of the Morphe's find, I think that that's a good idea. Especially if you got like a whatever, $300 or $400 Return of the Jedi card back, to send it into CAS and say, hey, this was part of the find. It kind of adds a little bit of allure to what could be, an otherwise common item. But obviously some of these, they speak for themselves. I mean, you got 21 back Boba Fett's and double telescoping Luke's. This was an interesting one. This was a lot of 24 ESB 32 back B's, Yodas, including the shipper box. So here's a photo of all of them that were included inside that shipper box. How crazy is that they auctioned them all off in one big lot? And that's just an incredible item. So somebody had a shipper case full of 32B Yodas, and this is why you can find them pretty regularly on eBay. They were pretty heavily produced. Yoda on this card back, his debut card back, is the 32B, and Kenner really pumped them out. And here's an example of that. So this is why pretty much every week of every month you can find a 32B on eBay. But some of them had price stickers, some of them were punched, some of them were unpunched. So, but just a really interesting item there. But for that whole lot of 24 32B Yodas, that lot sold for $22,140. So, let's call that about a little under $900 or so per mint on card Yoda. That's just a pretty incredible price, given that on eBay you can pick up one, in near mint condition for, let's say $550 to $750. So somebody, paid a little bit more than market, but, as a result, you got 24 of them, and they'll probably grade them all and sell them off individually. Who knows? But, and then a singular Yoda. This one was an AFA 80 32B, which, again, is very common. We find these on eBay all the time. You might pick it up for, I don't know, $750 to $850 for an AFA 80 32B Yoda. This is not hard to find. I mean, I picked up one ungraded for like $450 last year, and it graded at straight 80s, I believe, with CAS, and that was $400, and this one sold for $1,230. So again, the prices were inflated. There were not a ton of good deals, although Chris, I'm sure, will be able to share some more detailed information on his experience, since he was there, and he said he did pick up some items, not from. Most of them were not from the Morphe kind of find, but loose graded figures. But he did say he picked up a couple. But $1,230 for a punched example of the 32B US card Yoda is, that's approaching about 40 or 50% more than market. Next up, here's a 20 back A Han Solo. This one sold for $2,048, unpunched. Nice looking example, beautiful, and that's the large head Han. Here was a 21B R2-D2. This one sold for $1,722. And that one is part of the find. So they did label as, in the description for a lot of these MOCs, because not all of them were part of the find. Some of them were were just separate from the find, but being auctioned off on the same day. But it is nice to see this one sell, and it's nice that they labeled each of them as part of the Morphe's find or not. And I got a summary of all of the items that sold. But here was another one that I really wanted, and I think my max was about $1,000. Not that I was going to bid on it, but that was kind of my number. And it sold for 60% more than that. It sold for $15.99. This was the 21C Death Star droid, and I'm sure my number was way too low. It's tough to find this free Secret Star Wars action figure sticker on the 21 backs, but that 21C Death Star droid is really nice. And here's the back of the card there. So that's obviously related to the Bosk mail away, but $15.99 just seems like complete insanity to me, but what do I know? Next up, I pointed this one out because this was part of the find, part of the Morphe's find, but I wanted to kind of show you just how insane the prices were. So I picked up this exact same item at Hakes 2-3 weeks ago, a 65 back B Biker Scout made in Mexico. So this is the short mouth Biker Scout, Lily Letty, pretty much the exact same condition as the one I bought. This one's got a clear blister. It was punched just like mine. Mine graded 80. I haven't gotten photos back yet, but CAS did grade it, and it came back with an 80. So that's about what this one would get. Maybe this gets an 80 plus. I don't know. But I paid $320 for mine, somewhere in that ballpark. This one sold for $900. So this sold for almost triple what I paid for mine on Hakes. And again, part of it's the allure of being part of the Morphe's find. Part of it is just people have gone insane. And I think that a lot of it was just overbidding at this particular auction. But $900 for this item that you can find very easily on eBay for, let's say, worst case, $400 to $500. I picked up mine again on Hakes after the 18% buyer's premium for like $350-ish. So, $900 is pretty insane to me. And they also had different lots. So they weren't all individual. And to me, I thought that was kind of doing a disservice to the seller by putting them in lots like this. I think you got to sell them all individually, just like Hakes does. You're going to maximize dollars, in my opinion, versus selling them in lots of 3, lots of 4, lots of 5. But they did have several in here that were lots. This was all the Hoth crew, and then a Luke Bespin on top of that. And it's got 2 47 backs, and then a offerless Leia, and then a Luke Bespin walking photo, unpunched. So, yeah, again, I don't know what the rhyme or reason was for some of the matches. Some of them didn't make any sense to me. Like this one doesn't really particularly make much sense. And I do think that they should have it sold them all individually, auction ball individually. That's just my personal opinion on it. It's kind of strange to me to do them in lots like this. But this lot sold for $4,080. So, it's probably a pretty good price. But my argument is that if these had been sold individually, especially with the prices that they achieved for some of these other items, they probably would have gotten closer to $5,000. Heck, who knows? Maybe even $6,000. So I think that doing these lots didn't make a lot of sense to me, and I certainly question why they did that. They had some loose figures. I just picked out a random sampling here. This was an AFA 85 Dignitary, last 17, very common item. You could probably pick it up for $250 on eBay. This one sold for $338. So, a good, what's that? 20, 25%, 30% higher. Just really strange final sales prices on very common items. This was not part of the Morphe's find, but there were some loose figures there. This was an 8D8 AFA 85 new case style. That one sold for $153. I think that's probably in line with market. I don't know. That's nothing terrible. That's not a terrible overbid. But you got a painted hands reuse new label or new grading case AFA 85 plus. That one sold for $320. I mean, that's probably what, $200 to $250 max on eBay. So, just really strange bids on some of them. Here's an AFA 85 large head Han Solo old case. This is an older style case that sold for $450. I mean, there was one on eBay with a brand new case that sold for $270. So, I'm not trying to criticize anybody that felt like they had to have it, but I do feel like there was a lot of overbidding in this auction, and to each their own. Next up was an AFA 85 plus old style case Boba Fett, and this one was a Taiwan, so it was an 85 plus Taiwan, which is pretty desirable. That one sold for $704. Again, that's probably about in line with where they've been selling on eBay. There was one that CIB sold that was a brand new case. That was an AFA 85 Plus that sold for about the same price. So I don't think that was a terrible overpay, but certainly like this Han is a drastic overpay in my opinion. But anyway, that's kind of gives you a random sampling, but the general feel I got watching the auction live on their website was that, you know, even for the more common items, the prices were just stratospheric. And, you know, here's kind of a general summary. You can just see how insane the prices were. And this is a non-scientific number, but I tried to copy and paste the final winning bids. Now, these winning bids do not, on this page, do not include the 23% buyer's premium. So keep that in mind. But I copied and pasted all of just the Star Wars action figures into an Excel spreadsheet, and the final number was about $750,000. Again, you got to add, you know, another 150 on top of that, so it's about $900,000 of action figures sold in this lot, based on my rough numbers. It's very rough; it's not exact, but interesting. And one final note is that as crazy as these prices are, I think an argument I've made in past videos is that action figures are still in their relative infancy in terms of prices relative to some other collectibles out there. And I talked about in past videos, you know, graded comic books and how those could go for multi-millions of dollars. And another example of that is this pack that sold today as well. This was a 1952 Topps baseball unopened brick of 8 factory sealed wax packs. So again, these are, you know, old cards, admittedly, but it's just unopened packs inside a little pack there. And, you know, this gives you a sense of just how much in the infancy some of these graded Star Wars action figure collectibles are as an industry relative to baseball cards. This little wax pack of 8, or 8 wax packs, sold for $873,000 today. $873,000. That's after the buyer's premium. The estimate was between 4 and 8. It sold for $873,000. So, again, you know, are action figures ever going to touch this kind of number? Probably not, just because of the number, the population of Kenner Star Wars figures. I mean, we talked about it. In Kenner's heyday, they were producing between 13 and 18 million figures a year. So there's a lot of them out there, right? But will some of these early 12 backs, like the double telescoping Saber Lukes, there's not a lot of those out there. Are they ever going to hit $873,000? Probably not. But even the rocket firing Fets are what, $150,000 to $250,000. But I just at least wanted to show you how insane, you know, the baseball card and the comic book market is relative to action figures. And while I think the prices on the action figures in today's auction were pretty eye-watering, jaw-dropping, whatever term you want to use, they don't hold a candle to some of the other kind of collectibles out there. So anyway, I hope that for those of you that were at Morphe's, you had a good experience. You were able to pick up something really interesting and good. I kind of questioned maybe some of the mechanics that they used. It was not easy to try and bid or log in at all. So I certainly didn't, but I feel like it was pretty amazing numbers one way or the other. So that's all I really had for this video. Please share in the comments below whether you picked up anything, what your experience was like if you happened to be there. Thanks again for watching, and I'll be back soon.